artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Skye. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Skye and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube every Saturday. So make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. Alright, so this week we are mid-winter, which is actually one of my favorite times of year. I think the winter is so beautiful. And I have a really simple winter frosty mountain tutorial with a gorgeous universe and stars background. We're going to use our 4 standard brushes for this class and also one of our trusty sacrificial toothbrushes for the splattering of our galaxy. So I'm going to put that on the side. And then I have my 4 standard brushes that I use for most classes. This comes in a kit. These 4 come in a kit. With these 4 sizes, but they don't need to be the exact same sizes or this exact kit, but you do want something similar. So I have a 3/4 inch wash brush and then 3 pointed brushes. So I have a medium one that I call my medium brush, which is a size 10, and then 2 small, what I call detail brushes, which are a size 3 and a size 3/0. I'm gonna get those in the water cup off the side of the screen. The colors that we have to start with for today's background step, super simple. All we need is some black and white and a little bit of cobalt blue. To see a full materials list of everything that you need to paint along, check the description box below. It'll show you the colors for today's painting, but it will also show you the materials page on my website where you'll see everything that you need to paint along. All right, let's go ahead and jump in with our background step, which is going to be our beautiful universe galaxy here. So I'm gonna start with my black and my large brush and a little bit of water mixed into my paint. Now our mountains are gonna be pretty much dead center here. So you don't need to bring the black necessarily all the way down. I'll go ahead and just leave a little room down there. But if you're blending and you get some paint down there, don't worry too much about it because we're going to be covering this whole bottom area with our mountain. But what I want to do is kind of start to trace out what's going to be my main Milky Way galaxy, which is going to be kind of like an oval. So I'm taking my black and I've just sort of dotted my way around a little oval shape here. And I'm going to keep that same sort of back and forth brush stroke and fill in these corners around the oval, like so. Beautiful jet black color, very nice. Gotta get that night sky in the winter crisp deliciousness feel. All right, and I'm gonna go just a little bit gray now along the edge of that oval shape. A little bit of water always blended into your paint to help it keep blending, soak into the canvas texture. Okay, so you can see just a slight color difference between our black and our charcoal gray. I'm gonna rinse my brush a little bit, get some of that black out. I'm gonna mix up a blue. It's like a steely blue. So I'm gonna start with blue and white and then bring in a little bit of black too. All right, and then I'm actually gonna kind of go a little bit diagonal with these brush strokes rather than keeping on that same textured brush stroke that we were doing with the flipping our brush all over. So this one will be a little bit smoother. I kind of just want to blend that blue into the black and gray a little bit too. That looks pretty good, but I'm gonna add a little bit more of my blue and white because I know things are gonna dry a little bit darker. So let's grab a little bit more light gray blue and just sneak a little bit more coming out from the center out towards your outside edge. We'll get a little bit of that nice diagonal. And if you go too far over, you need to add some more black. Right back on top, you can do that pretty simply. All right, that looks pretty good. I think I'd actually like to now let this first layer dry a little bit, and then we'll come back and add our stars, and then we'll have our foreground easy mountain. All these steps are pretty simple, really pretty though. So let's let this layer dry so that when we add our stars, it doesn't bleed. So we're just gonna be patient, let this dry. We'll come back in a few minutes and carry on. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a dry first layer of our background, and I got some fresh water at break as well. We're gonna do one more quick step before we're done with our background, which is going to be our splattered stars. I'm gonna grab my medium-sized brush and have a little bit of water added to my white over here on my palette paper. Don't want to go too watered down, but I do want the paint to flow a little bit better. And then I'm going to grab my handy dandy toothbrush, and we're going to add our splatters like we love to do on many a tutorial together. Dipping that in. And then I'm gonna stand up and do a sort of diagonal angle. Again, like the Milky Way galaxy. Our little neighborhood here in the universe. And may need to dip in a few times. It's gonna kind of blend everything nicely. All right, and that looks about right to me. And then we are actually painstakingly going to let this dry again so that we don't smudge things up. And I'm gonna switch out my palette paper here, tidy up a little bit, and we will come back and add our beautiful mountains in just a few. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a completely dry background and the same colors on the new piece of palette paper here. So just some more black, white, and some more cobalt blue. We're doing a limited color scheme today. Kind of fun to do every once in a while. All right, we're gonna jump right back on into things with our mountains. And I'm gonna grab my medium-sized brush for this. And I think what I'll start with is just sort of like a sketch. And I'm gonna mix up a beautiful light blue. And I'm gonna kind of think about my composition here. So I have my main little part of the Milky Way right here, centered diagonally. So I kind of wanna like frame that by taking my little mountain peaks kind of right on either side. So I'm gonna start just with like a triangle, and I'm gonna work my way down and off the side of the canvas over here. Very, very simple. All right, and maybe just add a couple nice little sort of natural wiggles on your way down. We're gonna have another mountain over here, so it's okay if it overlaps a little bit here down into the white area that I left. And then I'm going to do like a kind of like the spine of the mountain where the snow kind of builds up. I'm gonna do like a wiggly line. It kind of turns out different each time I do it. Very random. And I have sort of gentle curves here. I think it's actually gonna be a little better. I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush to make these a little bit pointier. All right, so now we have our little sections of our front mountain. I'm gonna use that same little brush to sketch my back mountain. You could use the medium-sized brush too. Whatever you prefer and feel more comfortable with is the right answer for you. And I'm just gonna do another little mountain peak back here. And I'm going to have a similar little sort of mountain spine coming down. So now I have 4 different sections total. So let's now fill our sections with color. This I am going to use my medium-sized brush for again. And one side of our mountain is going to be darker than the other. We're going to use sort of like a gray-blue the whole time. I'm going to mix like a medium gray-blue for our dark side of the mountain. Not too dark, because you still want a nice contrast against our night sky. Okay, that looks about right. A little bit of water, but not too much, because we gotta fill over this black and over the white seamlessly. We're gonna do the left side of each of our mountains. You may lose the differentiation between the mountains over here for a minute, and that's all right. We will find that again in our highlight phase, but try to keep your brush strokes going the direction of each of your little mountain shapes. Okay, so it's sort of sloping up the mountain, okay, because this is mostly snow, right? It's not like the rocky tops of mountains, rocky weathered mountains topped with snow. But the snow goes real smooth when you get a nice snowstorm. That's kind of the feeling that we're capturing with today's painting, or that I was going for. So smooth, icy, frosty mountaintops is what I'm going for today. And this is like a triangular shape, so doing brush strokes that are sort of diagonal and then moving along that triangle. I can see through to my white a little bit, so I want to do another quick batch of paint so that I have plenty to cover that up with. All right, that looks pretty good for our dark side of the mountain. Really simple today, you guys. All right, I'm gonna grab my smaller brush for the lighter version. I'm gonna go pretty light, and I might even add a little bit more extra blue so that it's not quite as toned down with the gray. But I also don't wanna go all the way to white either, because we're gonna have white highlights added. So we wanna see the contrast there. Okay, so I'm coming down my rocky mountain spine here with my light blue and my smaller brush. And I needed a little bit of control, so I went with the smaller brush size there, but you can get a larger brush again to fill in this larger space if you need to, like I'm gonna use. Your mountains could be different, and that's okay. That's what we like. We like everyone to have their own styles. Smooth going along the triangle on this side of the mountain too. Every brush stroke comes together in the end, painting as the sum of its parts. So every brush stroke that you add, even the direction matters. All right. Ensure it's a nice seamless transition. Very cute, very simple today. And you know, I think I might need my smaller brush for my back mountain too. Make sure I got all the paint off of that brush. Slightly smaller brush for a slightly smaller space. Covering up my initial sketch lines with this base color. in our shapes. Very nice contrast there with the light blue against the black and against the dark navy blue. Okay. And even keeping my brush strokes going the same direction in these smaller places if you can, nice and tidy. All right, let's leave those mountains to dry for just a second. I'm gonna rinse my brush. I'm going to add just the two little smallest of details up back in my starry sky. So I'm gonna probably use that same brush. I don't know if I'm gonna use my tiny brush today. Can't decide. I think maybe this brush would be good for the moon, but we're gonna add a little crescent moon as well as a shooting star. So I might use the tiny brush for the shooting star, but we'll see how I feel in just a second. I'm gonna do a quick crescent moon and I'm gonna make it pretty small and thin. And the way that I like to do that usually is to think of going around in a circle and just add that first sliver, and then I'll come back and thicken it up a little bit and get the crescent moon shape. And I'm trying not to go through my paint at the bottom, but I can tell I did a little bit. Tiny little crescent moon. Okay. Probably went a little bit too thick there. I'm gonna take a dark black, touch it up a little bit. And then maybe also take a little bit of black over the stars since we're not looking through the moon. The moon just has a shadow on it. I can adjust things a little bit if I want to with this dark, almost black color. And on top too, just slimming things up a little bit. That looks pretty good. We'll go with it. All right, and I do want to use my smaller brush for my shooting star. I'm just gonna grab a tiny little bit of white and pick a star or add a new one perhaps, a little bit thicker. And just ever so slightly, gonna do a tiny little drag out of the white. And I'm gonna add a few bigger stars with the back of my brush, but not too many because we have a lot going on already. I think I'm gonna take one more little tiny bit of white up to my shooting star. There we go. It's about the shape I was going for. All right, and then just our final touches on our mountains. Let me grab a little bit of this light blue and touch up where I stuck my arm in it. Sometimes that happens. That's why all my clothes have paint on them. And I might as well do another little second coat in here if it needs it, if it's ready for it. All right. I'm gonna take an in-between color and find this mountain ridge again. And then I'm gonna add some highlights and shadows to the backside and front sides of our mountains. I'm gonna grab a little bit of a darker gray blue. And mostly on the backside of my mountains here, I'm gonna add some shadows. And gonna add them sort of randomly. Work my way down and close to those main initial line shapes. And I'm gonna add a quick little triangle. That's like another peak. All right, less is more with these kind of steps. We're just doing a little sort of illustrator style, stylized shadows. All right, and then I'm gonna take my light blue and do a few contrasting highlights through this back side of the mountain as well. Just kind of breaking things up, adding a little bit more interest to our composition. I'm going to take an almost white color, just a little bit of blue for the highlights here on my front mountain. I'm also going to have a sort of triangular shape here, like another little peak. Okay, it's a little wet over here to add our highlights, but I'm going for it anyway. Okay, how simple is that? Well, I think despite its simplicity, it comes out really cute. Let me know what you thought of today's painting in the comments section below. I like these sort of limited color compositions. I'm just adding a few more just for fun, a little bit brighter, kind of messing things up a little bit. But that is all the instruction that I have for us for today's painting. If you painted along, I would love to see your work, and I've created a Facebook group called the Art Club where you can share your work, whether it be from painting along with me or just from your own studios and imaginations. I want to see what you got going on. It's the best part of my day to see you guys painting along and enjoying yourselves and posting it in the group. So thank you for joining us over there if you have, and I encourage you to join if you have not yet. We want to see it. And yeah, that is all I have for us this week. So until next time, happy painting.